The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Pollard streaks in. Touchdown. Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Nick Harris, John Machota, and Kyle Yeomans.
It's an off-season edition of Talkin Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the SWBC studios. Welcome in, everybody. We've got the full crew ready to roll. Lots to talk about here in this Dallas Cowboys offseason. Isaiah Stanback, John Machota, Nick Harris, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Gentlemen, how are we doing today, Isaiah?
Hello.
How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. John, everything good?
Everything's great. No complaints.
Yeah?
Yeah. The swing of off season, I guess. You're really getting into the mix of it now, which is tough because it's Super Bowl week. But, yeah, you're really entrenched in the off season now. So, good stuff. We have a lot to talk about today.
I still feel like this week you're going to see just how much fun it was for the Chiefs and the 49ers and what their fan bases are getting to experience right now. And it's going to hurt a little bit if you're Cowboys fans. If you're out there and you're still thinking back to the Packers, you're thinking back to that wild card loss, it's going to hurt a little bit. And then that sting will go away gradually after this week. But up until this week, it won't be there. It's going to be there.
At least your pockets are heavier than what they would have been had you went to Vegas.
Dude, for real.
Because those rooms are not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you try and get out there this year?
I tried to get a hotel room the day after last year's Super Bowl.
Okay.
And the rates were already crazy.
Oh, man.
Isn't that wild?
Wow.
I mean, it's the first time in Vegas, so it's going to be.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I know people with a lot of money. I know individuals with a lot of money. They're staying at the Golden Nugget.
Flex.
Don't talk about me.
Flying down there private and having to stay at the Golden Nugget. That should tell you
Tom
exactly.
Brady?
No,
So that's
not
what Tom
TV12.
Brady's
No. But private jet.
Yeah.
Golden Nugget.
Yeah, that's.
But before we get too crazy, I have to give this shout out real quick.
Okay.
Today's my wife's 40th birthday.
Oh, happy
Hey,
birthday,
shout out.
Nat.
So big
What's
shout out
up?
to Nat. She's not here. She's out of town doing some nonprofit work. But
Oh, wow.
yeah,
She's giving even on
her birthday.
Her birthday. That's
Yep.
really cool.
Pretty dope.
I saw y'all had a nice little get together this
We
weekend.
did. We turned up a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let your boy get a little energy drink in his system.
Because that's it. That's the only drink.
I cut a little rug in my day.
That's all it takes, some energy drink, huh?
That's all I need. One energy drink, bro. Don't give me
Black
two.
Rifle coffee.
Don't give me two energy drinks. If I get three, I might be streaking through the quad in the Coliseum.
I think at your I think at your birthday dinner in Seattle during the preseason, you had 2 Red Bulls, and I was like,
bro, it was
Isaiah's about to turn up
get
around
crazy.
here.
Yeah, I actually kept it pretty chill that night. Pretty chill.
We had to.
Yeah, we had to. We had work.
Wonder what you'd be like if you mix a little bit of some spirits in there as well.
No spirits, sir.
Yeah, you haven't really lived until you mix that Red Bull with something else. Really
Red Bull vodka.
really
Somebody's
live
tried
your
to do
life.
that to me before, and I smelled it.
Yeah.
I ordered a Red Bull, and it came back in a glass, and I was like, that's not just Red Bull.
You should have tried
Well,
it.
a lot of if you go to a bar and you order just a Red Bull, they sometimes will actually think you're thinking
Red
of the
Bull
drink.
vodka. Yeah, Red Bull vodka.
That's like a normal thing.
No thanks.
I don't think you should be
My body is my temple,
suggesting
Kyle.
that, but
My body's my temple.
good job. Good
Thank
for you. Well done. There you go. All right, we've got plenty of news and notes to get to. Of course, there's a lot of buzz around the defensive coordinator position. Interviews starting yesterday, according to Jerry Jones. 9 a.m. Central Time is when he said it got going. Nick, did you hear anything based off of how those interviews went, who those interviews were with, and where the direction could be headed?
Yeah, those interviews are still ongoing. I don't think anything conclusive is going to come out of anything until probably after tomorrow at the earliest. But yeah, interviewing candidates to replace Dan Quinn since the last time we talked. Dan Quinn taking the head coaching job with the Commanders. Really fascinating how that all kind of came together so quickly. And then Joe Whitt Jr. over the weekend following him as his defensive coordinator. So the Cowboys do lose one assistant and one potential candidate in their defensive coordinator search. He was slated to have an interview on Monday, but he took the bird in hand and went ahead and took the defensive coordinator job with the Washington Commanders. I can't blame him for that. And now you, as far as in-house candidates, you look at Aiden Dirty, defensive line coach. You look at Al Harris, defensive backs coach. Outside candidates, you look at Mike Zimmer. You look at Ron Rivera. Those are 2 that are in the building this week. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a candidate or 2 more that they bring in to interview, just to kind of throw in some parity and really kind of widen the scope on this entire search. But as of right now, those are the names that are being thrown out. I like the Mike Zimmer idea. I really do. I want to start with that. I think bringing him in would be an interesting pairing with Mike McCarthy. The two have chemistry together. Zimmer, from his head coaching days, has a history of putting together good defenses, and his defensive coordinator days has a history of putting in good defenses. But the difference for me is what he brings whenever he's running a defense, and that's physicality, size, and really focusing on stopping the run. And I think in his later days in Minnesota, that kind of bit him because they were giving up so much in the passing game. But I trust with what Dallas has personnel-wise to be able to limit the passing game. I want to be able to have a coordinator that will focus on being able to stop the run and keep things in the backfield. And I think that's exactly what this team needs. I think that's what Mike Zimmer brings. But that's just my opinion.
What do you think based off that?
I think those are all valid points. I think, Zimmer, in terms of his resume and what he's done as a defensive coach, it speaks for itself. I think his defenses have always been highly respected. I think the players that play for him hold him in high regard. He's a no-nonsense type of guy. That's the one aspect that worries me a little bit about him coming to Dallas, is because I'm not sure how that style of coaching works with this generation of athlete. That's literally my concern as it pertains to some of these really good coaches, even Bill Belichick. Coach Belichick, obviously the GOAT in coaching, is highly regarded as that. But his style of coaching might be the reason why he doesn't have a job right now.
Are you saying we're soft? I am.
Players,
I am too.
I'm just saying, like players are more sensitive to hard coaching now. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality that we're in. That's across the scope. That's not just football. That's in all youth sports and all the way up to the NFL.
You've been around youth sports
a ton. Yeah, it's just they're just not able to, in a majority, right? Majority of the athletes that we now are around don't receive that type of coaching well. So I'm not sure how that personality would do with his locker room. Now, can he change it? Absolutely. But in terms of reception, that's what I'm more concerned about in terms of that locker room feel.
I kind of wonder, though, what factors in with Mike Zimmer, and then also Bill Belichick now looks like he possibly could have a full season not to be coaching. I wonder how much of that, like Mike Zimmer not coaching, factors into that. Listening to Dan Quinn's press conference yesterday in Washington talking about how, when he got fired in Atlanta, that gave him some time to sit back and kind of adjust some things, maybe change some things that he did before, gave him a little time to think.
Perspective.
Yeah, and I could see that being the same case with Mike Zimmer, because everything you said I agree with, but I also think that he has to know that too. Mm-hmm. So if he's just coming in trying to just do the same exact stuff he was doing before, he's got to know that he's going to have to change some things.
Tweak some stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I agree with everything that Nick said. For the sake of the show, I wish I could disagree because it makes for a better conversation. But I do think he's the best, because I think it comes down to him or Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
And I like the Zimmer hire. I think that fits with Mike McCarthy where they're at. And then in terms of the Joe Whitt going over to Washington, I think that's good for everyone, because here's the thing that I feel like is, you don't want to be bringing in a new defensive coordinator and then just being like, yeah, so you're a guy, but you got to take all these assistants with you. Like you're going to have to coach with these assistants. Like if you're hiring a new DC, you want that person to be able to bring in some of their own coaches too. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that Joe Whitt couldn't have worked with Mike Zimmer or Ron Rivera. Obviously he could, but you're going to want that coach to bring in some people that he feels comfortable with too, that he's worked with before, that he trusts, that have been close to him. And so I do think it comes down to those two, and I would be leaning more towards Mike Zimmer.
So how does the assistants positions work now on the defense side of the ball contractually? I remember you guys saying something about you can't leave unless they get upgraded or money's more.
The Commanders can really only take one, and they took Joe Whitt Jr. The question I have, and the thing that I haven't got a ton of clarity on, which y'all might be able to give a little bit more to, is let's say they want to take Al Harris. Can they give him a co-defensive coordinator position, and it would still work?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it would have to work. They'd have to give him a title that would be above what he has right now.
Well, and that's if he remains under contract with the Cowboys. Let's say Mike Zimmer comes in and he wants to redo the staff completely, then those guys are free to sign elsewhere regardless. That's how a lot of the coaching carousel works, is if you bring in your guys, you bring in these candidates, and then they're free to go elsewhere. But I don't see anybody, whether it's Ron Rivera, whether it's Mike Zimmer or any other candidate, coming in here and saying, Al Harris, listen, thank you for your service.
But contractually, are they once you make a new defensive coordinator hire, does their contracts now have the freedom to just get up and walk away, or how does that work?
No. They're contracted with the team.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's a little bit confusing.
That's why I wanted to kind of
and they can request to interview guys, but the Cowboys can block that.
Yes.
And just kind of looking at the landscape and how things have kind of moved quickly with all of the other coordinator fillings as head coaching carousel has kind of gone through its cycle. It'd be tough to be able to fill a staff with certain assistants being out of the building. So whoever that new defensive coordinator coming in, if they want to bring in guys, they better have it ready to go. And hopefully the people that would be let go are kind of done right in that instance. But one candidate that I heard on social media last week that I just have to bring up, it was from a certain account on this table, was Rex Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm going to give you the chance to just speak on why before we
let's give some context here. Let's give some context here. So, last week we're sitting around, and of course the Dan Quinn feet. Yeah, we were talking about feet.
Sorry.
We had the conversation of Dan Quinn leaving, and then very quickly after the show was over, the news broke was Dan Quinn's moving on. Well, Isaiah, knowing that you only got these 45 minutes a week now, you've been limited in the way that you can share your opinion. You hopped on Twitter, you put together a video, and you said, "This is the guy I want as your next defensive coordinator."
Stand behind that. Still stand behind that.
The name popped up. Rex Ryan.
I still stand behind that.
I can't tell you how quickly Nick and I immediately looked at each other and we're like, "What is Isaiah doing?"
That's okay.
Did you have more than one Red Bull or energy drink?
I still stand behind that statement.
I actually have one question to add that I would love for you to incorporate in your answer. What was the game that you played when you were with the Patriots that made you think that Rex Ryan was God?
It's preparation. So sitting in those meeting rooms with Bill O'Brien and Tom Brady and having to watch film trying to prepare for a game against Rex Ryan was the most difficult thing out of any team I've ever prepared for. When he was coaching the Jets, hands down, regardless of personnel.
I was about to say the personnel on that Jets defense was
regardless of personnel,
pretty good.
Scheme.
I mean, they made back-to-back AFC title games with Mark Sanchez.
I'm just telling you, from scheme. I know there's personality in the feed and all that stuff that comes with it. I think I truly and honestly believe that he's able to connect with this generation of player with his personality. I truly do. High energy guy, still disciplined, allows guys to be themselves. The feet, right? Whatever it is, right? But he's humble enough to be at that level with them, but still demand excellence, right? And hard work and all that stuff. But also, again, having been in the league and having been in a lot of meeting rooms with a lot of great players and seeing the preparation and coaches, I've never seen any offensive coordinator, head coach, quarterback have to prepare more for any other D coordinator outside of Rex Ryan. Hands down. The stuff that he was bringing to the table, the stuff that he was doing in the games was absolutely insane. And with the personnel that Dallas...
Did you ever play the Patriots in your career?
Played, yeah, when I was with the Giants.
Okay. I just can't believe that.
In a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that Rex Ryan would be higher than Bill Belichick when he was in his bag. Everybody used to just talk about constantly how it was week to week. I can't believe this guy just does it way different than everybody else. Every week it's something
Bill's
different.
stuff wasn't complicated. It wasn't you know what I'm saying? Guys were disciplined,
right?
And guys did their job, right? But Rex's stuff was just out of this world, out the box, water boy, out the green book type stuff. You know what I'm saying? What the heck is a 1-5-5 defense? Who the heck draws this up? What is this personnel grouping that's out here? Just stuff that's off the wall. And I can appreciate that with the personnel that's on this roster currently, because the challenge that you have by bringing a defensive coordinator, you have to bring in a defensive coordinator that not only has a good track record, but you have to bring in a defensive coordinator who can connect with your players that are currently on your roster, because you can't turn your roster over. Along with that, you also have a challenge of bringing in a defensive coordinator who has a scheme that's similar enough to what you've already been running, because the personnel that associates with that. You can't turn your roster over in 1 year. You don't want to have a rebuild, so you have to deal with what you have. Now, there's going to be guys that come and go, but the core is still your core, right? So you can't all of a sudden come in here and think that you're about to just run a 3-4, right? Or, whatever it might be. You have to go with what you have primarily on your roster. So when you look about that, and you look about what type of coaches have the flexibility and the creativity to be able to do that, right? Much like Dan Quinn came in and was like, all right, I'm running 3 safeties. We're like, what the heck is – no, nobody runs 3 safeties. He did, right? That's what worked for him. It was off the wall, but it worked for him, right? And they continued that through his whole tenure here. So when I think about Rex, like that, not Rob, but Rex, like that's what I think about. High energy, discipline, right? Off the wall, big personality in Dallas, can connect with the players and creative enough to have those guys around. And I know there's a lot of other stuff that goes along with him.
Yeah.
But I like him and I like what he brings to the table.
I love all the elements that you're giving, and I agree with you that a coordinator that will be brought in needs to have those elements. But there's one missing element that has to be had.
What's that?
Trust with your head coach. Your head coach has to trust who you're bringing in, even if it is for the year and it's the final year of Mike McCarthy's deal, and you have this 1 year hanging over Mike McCarthy. He's not going to hire somebody he's not going to trust. And Rex Ryan, very much so, since he's been out of the league, has downgraded and been against Mike McCarthy very vocally.
Oh, I get it.
On TV, on his television shows, on Sunday Countdown or whatever the show is that he's on. He's been very adamant about how he disagrees with Mike McCarthy, and he has downgraded Mike McCarthy.
I get it. Sometimes, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. But
Isaiah just wants his job.
Huh?
Isaiah just wants
No,
coordinator?
not at all.
No. He wants the TV job.
He's trying to create an opening here.
I've been here. I've been on the 13-3. I've been on the 13-3 Cowboys roster where two coaches disagreed.
But did it get to where you wanted to go?
Jason Garrett and Coach Phillips did not see eye to eye on
mesh.
anything. There was disrespect that was going on. There was communication barriers. It was obvious. The team knew that there was a huge divide. So I've been in that environment before, and it worked out perfectly fine.
I mean, it was good.
Win. You didn't win a Super. I mean, where you're at today.
That's what the whole point of this thing.
But
is,
I'm saying, you can still have a successful team with that. Those two elements being on each side. You guys are over there doing your thing. We're over here doing our thing. As long as we have a clear line that there's not going to be any disrespect in the building and that everybody works underneath one roof, you don't have to agree. There's a whole locker room of guys that come from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different political beliefs, different cultures, different religions, all that stuff, and you come together and you make it work on the field. Every single thing. That's what's so amazing about football is that you don't have to see eye to eye, right? I don't come from where you come from, right? I didn't grow up in Detroit. Right, I grew up in a very diverse, not very diverse area of Seattle. Right, it was pretty much primarily black. But then when I got to college, guess what? I'm playing with Polynesians, I'm playing with Asians, I'm playing with everything, and it's like, okay, I don't know nothing about you or where you come from.
Yeah,
and
why is Haloti Nada coming?
Yeah,
at me?
absolutely, right. And I don't speak your language. I don't believe what you believe. Like we don't see eye to eye on any of these things. But guess what? When we line them up, we're together.
Hey, we don't see eye to eye on your take of Rex Ryan being the next
perfectly
defensive
fine.
coordinator, but
That's
we're still
cool.
a good team here on
Absolutely.
this show. That's what it's all about.
Perspectives, baby. It's all different. It's awesome.
Just want to throw out some numbers here. Mike Zimmer, in his 22 years as a coordinator and head coach, 22 years, 13 of those years, he's finished in the top half of scoring defenses. And 10 of those, top 10. Rex Ryan, in 5 of his first 6 seasons as a coordinator / head coach, top 10 scoring defense.
Wow.
Did not do it again for the next 6 years. So it's just like looking at the body of work that he had in those 2 years in Buffalo and then to finish out with the New York Jets. And you kind of factor in the issues that you had off the field too.
I get it.
It's just not working.
I get it.
For this team specifically,
I get it. Risk versus, and I would feel that, and I honestly feel the same way as we talk about a Zimmer or Rivera coming in here trying to coach up a Micah Parsons. Right, or some of these other young superstars that probably don't want to hear nothing that they got to say. Don't you gonna curse me out? Like, are you serious? Like some of these guys might have that response, and you might lose the locker room like that if you come in too strong.
Isn't that an indictment on the maturity level of your players?
Absolutely, but that's what you got to deal with. That's who you're catering to. That's what I'm saying. That's the reality that you're living in. So if you bring in a Zimmer or Rivera, those guys who are kind of hard-nosed type of guys, and your players don't respond well, now what do you have?
Yeah, I agree with you if this was a defense that needed to be fixed and then they were going out to get a defensive coordinator. Like, the pieces are there. And then the other factor is that, like I said, Zimmer not coaching the last 2 years, I find it very hard to believe that he can think that he's going to come in there and start doing that. Like, that he isn't going to have to kind of fit in. Like, he's going to have his way of doing things, but he's going to have to kind of fit with what they have here because the key is that it is a talented defense. So it's not like you got to, like, basically what I'm saying, if he's coming in after Mike Nolan, let's say he's the hire after 2020 disaster, you can do a lot of crazy things, but there's a lot of pieces that are working here that I don't think he can come in and do that. And that's on Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, whoever's in the interview process to find out, hey, what are you trying to do? How can what you want to do fit with what we want? And then they have to make the best decision off that. I believe, though, just because he has been out of the game for a couple of years, that he'll be more willing to do that maybe than he would have 10 years ago.
And that's the hope.
Like that. Yeah.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
I got to go off what I've seen.
Yeah, no,
right? I mean, that's from all of our points, right? I mean,
for sure.
From the crazy Rex Ryan idea to the crazy Zimmerman idea. Like every guys that I know who played for Zimmerman are just like, yeah, he's a boop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what I know about him.
Yeah.
So, and what I know about him, I know wouldn't work with some of the players that are currently on this roster.
Yeah.
If he's that same guy. Now, we can hope that he's different over the last few years. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's changed and maybe he'll bring a different approach. But who we've seen for majority of his career, I'm not sure that personality works with what's currently on this roster.
I mean, you can make the argument that that's why Mike Vrabel doesn't have a job right now.
That's a good point.
A lot of the hard-nosed guys just aren't connecting.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's just what it is.
Let's give some grades. We've got this long list of candidates. Mike Zimmer's on there. I don't know if I want to talk about Rex Ryan being on there. We may do it just for fun.
We can replace him with Joe Whitt.
Yeah. All these candidates, top to bottom, and both Nick and John have released articles about these different defensive coordinator candidates. What grade would you give the hire if they ended up being the choice? We're going to talk about that when we come back with more Talking Cowboys right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, this portion of the show is brought to you by Quaker Oats, a super trusted superfood. Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Isaiah?
Yes, sir.
Did you get him in?
I didn't. Beamer, you got something for me?
For what?
No.
You tried to set it up last week.
I did.
You tried to set it up
I
last
threw the
week.
alley-oop, and it just went out of bounds.
When there was a little bit of a pause there from Beamer, I thought he was going to come busting through the door and just like lay down the Quaker Oats on the table.
That'd have been awesome. A little brown sugar and raisins in there.
Lay the oats down.
I had that the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
How's your workout challenge going?
It was good up until this past weekend, but it's been fine outside of that.
Are you on track?
Good. I am on track.
There you go.
I'm actually ahead of schedule currently.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
yeah,
my
we're
boy.
good to go.
That's my
So
boy.
we're getting in the right direction.
Gym bros.
Gym Bros, baby. All right, let's talk about some grades. And these aren't. We will do report card grades for the entire season once we know where the coordinators fall, coaching carousel, that kind of settles down. That'll be a later episode here on Talking Cowboys. But today I want to talk about what grades would you give the following defensive coordinator hire if they indeed become the hire. And I'm taking these guys' names from Nick Harris, John Machota, Nick on DallasCowboys.com, John on The Athletic. And I'm going to start with Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, of course, most recently head coach with the Washington Commanders. Basically, it would be a trade. Dan Quinn for Ron Rivera. What grade would you give it, John, if you're looking at what he brings to this defense and how he would fit in? And we're talking an A to F scale, like a grade scale.
No pluses or minuses?
You can do plus and minus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll probably be the highest on Ron Rivera of anybody at this table. So I'm going to say B minus. I don't think that just because it doesn't work out as a head coach you could make the argument the worst situation. If you think about who was the owner, the organization he stepped into, it's not like act like anybody's just going in there and just fixing that. Oh no! If you just put Kyle Shanahan back in there, he would have turned them into the Niners. So he wouldn't have.
You're giving grace.
So,
yeah,
he deserves some. And it's hard to get past. I have some of the similar feelings I had about Dan Quinn, in the sense of I always kind of laugh at people that wanted to ding his resume for the 28-3 in the Super Bowl, because I can't get past he got the Atlanta Falcons to the Super Bowl, and so it's the same thing. Like he got the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl with Ron Rivera. Let's not act like he can't coach, okay? Let's stop with that. Like it's getting a little out of control on social media with some of that stuff. So I don't think it would be an A. But out of the candidates I've heard, I think he's the second best choice because I have believed, and I still do believe, that they will go with a former head coach because they need somebody that can be the head coach of the defense. And out of the candidates that are available right now, I think he'd be the second best, so B minus.
Yeah, for those exact same reasons, head coaching experience, just what he's been able to do during his career, being able to kind of fall back into a coordinator role, I'd give it a B. I think it's right in there in that range, kind of teetering on B plus, but sitting at a B. I think he'd be good for a culture fit as well in the Dallas locker room. I'd be curious to know what the interviews kind of come out of, though, as far as where he's at in his career and what he's still trying to accomplish. And does he want to be a head coach again? There's a lot of questions that I think would have to be asked there. But he's 62 years old. I mean, there's still a lot left in his career. He's a 2-time AP Coach of the Year. I mean, this is a guy who's done it before. Just had a rough couple of years in Washington, and that's a tough place to win. I want to give that little grace, but also understand and realize that this last year was really bad on the defensive side of the ball. Granted, they gave away 2 really good defensive linemen in the middle of the year, but when you kind of factor everything in, it probably is a good time for him to step back as a coordinator. I think it would be an interesting hire. I wouldn't be sold day one. I think with Zimmer, I would be sold earlier than I would be with Rivera, but give me training camp and I could be sold on Ron Rivera for sure.
What do you think? He's a 2-time Coach of the Year.
I get it. I'm going to see. I'm just not excited about it.
Oh, I thought you said I'm going to see.
No, I'm going to see. Okay. There's nothing from my experience, from what I've watched on film over these past, 4+ years working for the boys. There's nothing that I've seen that's like, oh man, yeah, this defense is tough outside of the personnel. Scheme wise, I don't see it. I just don't.
2013, 2015, he won AP Coach of the Year. He's one of 3 coaches since 2000 to win multiple Coach of the Year wins. Bill Belichick and Bruce Arians are the other 2. So, you have the track record. Does he fit with this defense? I don't know. I would probably stick with John. I'd probably say like a B minus. I don't think it's a C higher because I think if it's a C, you're kind of you're meh.
That's where I'm at with it.
So you're at a C.
I'm at a meh.
But it's definitely not an A higher, and I don't think it's a high B.
I don't think there are any A's out there.
What about Mike Zimmer? That's the next name on the list. Mike Zimmer, you guys have talked about it significantly. What grade would you give it, Isaiah?
B minus.
B minus.
Yeah.
So a little bit higher than Ron.
A little bit higher, just because you're either gonna hit with his style or you're gonna swing and miss in a major way, and you're gonna get a bunch of guys that are rejected and contracts coming up, not gonna want to stick around. So that's why I say personality is a big part of this hire as well for me. So B minus, just because his track record of defenses has been solid. It's just this style that he brings. I'm not sure that the creativeness is there, but the discipline is definitely there. So there's something to be said about that.
I mean, if you've talked about something that Dan Quinn's defenses have lacked, it would probably be discipline. So it would fix one problem, maybe create another.
Yep.
But it would still be. I'd give it an A minus. I really like the Mike Zimmer idea. I like how much experience he has. I like the trust that he and Mike McCarthy have together. The way that they know each other, both from a strength standpoint and a weakness standpoint, because they've played against each other so much. I like that.
I believe that's the
to
higher.
A certain extent.
I honestly think that's going to be the higher.
I'd give it a low A minus, just because. Would I rather have somebody else? Would I rather have Dan Quinn in the building? Yes, but Mike Zimmer, out of the candidates that are available, that's the best candidate on the block.
Yeah, I'm throwing a B+. And for me, that's the best candidate as well, and the best candidate's a B+. So.
Completely agree. I don't think there is an A candidate available. It actually made me think, like, well, who is really an A candidate? And
it's not realistic. Yeah, Vrabel maybe, but like it's not realistic.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I don't see anybody that would be out there that you would sit there and say, oh yeah, no, this is the no doubt go get person. So I would say B+. But with that being said, to Nick's earlier point, I could after seeing training camp and talking with players and things like that, it could end up being an A hire. If maybe there are some tweaks there. The thing I keep going back to is I just think that when you do something for such a long time, and then there's that period of a couple years where you don't get to do it, I find it hard to believe that you just come back and you don't do anything to change. Also, I just think that your hunger is very high because there's probably points in your life where you're thinking, well, I might not get this opportunity again. So I think Mike Zimmer would be very hungry.
What about Mike Vrabel? You guys have talked about him a little bit. I know it's not necessarily a realistic hire, but what would his grade be if he ended up being the choice?
I'd give it an A, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
Why not?
I don't see Vrabel stepping back into a coordinator role. He doesn't need to.
Yeah.
If he did not get a head coaching opportunity, I'd be surprised if he doesn't take a year off here.
I think if he got offered it, he'd take it.
You think so?
Yeah.
And what would the grade be?
A-.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would be A+, no doubt about it, outside of Isaiah's point that if you're going to come in here and just be trying to fist fight people, I'm not saying he's going to do that. That's not going to work, And to your point, like you could lose it before you ever implement what you're trying to get across.
Yeah.
And but again, the thing with him, why I don't think he would be like that is because I think he would look at it as only 1 year. Like, I'm just trying to do this for a year. There's going to be good talent around me. I'm trying to get back into that head coaching cycle next year.
So, yes. I mean, the thing is, like, I know I'm probably thinking about this more than a lot of others, or maybe not. This hire is directly tied to your ability to re-sign Micah.
Why do you say that?
Micah came in under Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's gone. Okay? He loves the Cowboys. I think he loves money more.
Yep.
So
was my
he
thought.
can't make any more money than he can from the Cowboys.
Absolutely. So why would
can't even come close.
But he,
Who could give him more money?
I mean, you're
It
talking
goes way
facts,
beyond. It goes way beyond on the field, though. I'm talking about like the money Dak Prescott makes off the field, the money you can make off the field being Mike Parsons.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
You can't do that anywhere else but with the Cowboys.
I totally agree with you.
He's very aware of that.
Unless you're
Very
New York
aware
or
of
something
that.
like that. So, but you have to love where you work. You have to love where you work, especially as a player. Like as a player, you got to love waking up and going and sitting in meeting rooms with somebody every day. In that environment that you're in every day. You have to love that. From a player's perspective, just telling you guys. And if you don't, life sucks. Life sucks. And you know what? I'd rather go take the check from somebody else than to sit around and deal with that every day. I'll find another way. Or guess what? I'll just make my money. My money will make money. Right? I'm just telling you, like, from the player's perspective, this hire is directly tied to whether or not the position that you're going to put yourself in to be able to resign Micah. If it's not an environment that's conducive for him to thrive and to love to show up to every day, you're gonna take a hit. And I'm just telling you, you're going to take a hit. You're running the risk of not bringing him back.
And I understand what you're saying, but I'd also argue that we're seeing a change in the NFL from the NFL you played in, and one of the differences is in the coaching. And I'm not just talking about the way that the coaches coach. I'm talking about their longevity. We've seen with Frank Reich. We've seen with Steve Wilkes. Those days are done where you're like, oh, we got a new head coach. Oh, he's going to be here for 3 or 4 years. Or 11 games. Or he's gone at the end of the year. Like, so you can go sign up with somebody, think you're getting what you want, and then all of a sudden it changes on you too. From what Micah Parsons wants, I find it hard to believe he's going to find that anywhere else but Dallas.
I mean, honestly, a couple floors above us, so these interviews going on, I should just pull up a chair for Micah, since this
you got to build it around him.
I understand where you're coming from to a certain extent. I don't think the coordinator. I think it's more pertinent on the coordinator hire being able to use Micah correctly rather than appease to Micah.
Right.
And I think that's probably a bigger factor you'd have to play in. I don't need a coordinator to be Micah's best friend.
No. Right. I'm not asking for that, but I'm saying, but like the environment, like a Dan Quinn environment, like you knew what it was going to be. You're going to want to show up. I want to show up. Like I want to talk to you. Like I want to have, like, we're gonna have fun. Like we're gonna be turning up on the sideline. Like I want that.
To his point, though, if I understand what you're saying, but to his point, if you're putting me in the best position to have my best year. Like because you talk about pulling up a chair right now with Micah. If I'm sitting down with any of these DCs, I think the first thing I'm asking is how you use the Micah Parsons, what you're playing for Micah.
Absolutely.
And so even if the meetings might not be fun and the practices aren't fun, if he's putting you in position to where you're getting 17, 18, 20 sacks, he'll deal with all the rest later.
I don't disagree with you, but I just know that environment is a big part of that as well.
Yeah. It will be a big part of it, and it's part of why this is such a tough decision for the front office, and maybe they are involving Micah in that process.
But I also that's not Mike McCarthy though too.
He's an expert.
I think one of the best things Mike McCarthy's done is with the environment around here. I do think that I prefer off the record because you would get the more truth out of the players. I believe off the record you'd get glowing reviews about playing for Mike McCarthy, especially these last 3 years, the way he takes care of them during the week, their practice schedule, things like that, the way he treats them, the way he schedules meetings, things like that. He's very, very player friendly. Yes. And so I think for what you're saying, I think top down, he's going to be the one in charge of that. So that DC is not going to be able to go in there and just be like, no, we're doing all this because this way. You're going to have to kind of, Mike is the head coach. So that has to factor in.
And it does. It certainly does. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to talk about a huge announcement that happened at AT&T Stadium this past weekend, or as some may call it in 2026, Dallas Stadium. We'll talk about both of those when we come back with a little national storylines on Talkin Cowboys right after this.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a coffee club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talkin Cowboys, this segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, Talkin Cowboys always brought to you by...
Isaiah?
Huh?
We can't get the smile?
Can we get a smile today?
The Invisalign smile?
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. There it is. Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. Isaiah Stanback, John Machota, Nick Harris, Chris Beam in the back.
I need a RTD. I need a Black Rifle
I just
RTD.
love how it tickles John.
I love it. It's so funny.
Are you going to...
I don't know if there's one down here.
There's not. You drank them all.
I exploded one.
I think Beamer drank them all.
That's a negative.
Beamer probably took him out after I exploded one all over the desk here that one time.
Yeah.
I think Derek took it out after that.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Don't mess up my news.
No whipped cream allowed in here either from the Spice Challenge.
Anywho.
All right. Super Bowl Sunday coming up this week. It's the 49ers and the Chiefs. at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. What is the number one thing you've learned from how these two teams got here that you could apply to the Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, why are you looking at me?
I don't know. I just felt like you would have an answer to that
Size
question.
and physicality. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest thing. Consistent offensive line play, a consistent running game. I think that's been really huge for both of these teams, especially like you look at Isaiah Pacheco, a 7th-round pick, and what he's been able to do in the playoffs specifically. I mean, when they need a first down, 8 yards, 3 yards. I mean, he gets it done. I think that's definitely something that you would look at and you would hope to be able to accomplish. But I think there's more you can learn off of the Lions if you're talking about the Cowboys specifically from a running game standpoint, because they added both of those guys during the offseason, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and they were able to bring that running game to the forefront and did what they did. But I think mainly being able to just have size on both sides of the ball, offensive line play, that's the biggest thing for me, and then some guy named Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. That's why it's so tough for me to even compare anything to Kansas City.
It's tough.
I mean, if you want me to, what's the comp? How do you get like Kansas City? I don't know, get lucky. I mean, seriously, like he covers up so many things. Like you can disagree with me, but I don't know that Isaiah Pacheco has the season he's having right now if he played this year for the Cowboys. I mean, he's in a
probably not.
You play with Mahomes, it opens a lot of things up for a lot of people, makes a lot of people look. I mean, we're watching. I sincerely believe we're watching. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Tom Brady in their prime right now. Like he is just a one-off. So it's so difficult for me to compare. And Andy Reid deserves a lot of credit, obviously. Like it's not like Patrick Mahomes is just going to go out there by himself, but it's so hard to compare anything and be like, well, you got to do this because this is what the Chiefs do. Okay, well, give this team Mahomes and let's see what happens. So I look towards San Francisco, and it's a lot of stuff that Isaiah said throughout the season about, the physicality, the defense, being able to stop the run, being able to run the football. I mean, Jerry said it at the Senior Bowl. It's the being able to stop the run and being able to run the football, and that's so basic. That's leather football helmets. That's whatever. That goes back as long as the game has been around. So the Niners, when you look at it, it's like so obvious. They're this big physical team. They've been in your way the last 3 years for the Cowboys. The only way I see you beating them is getting better at stopping the run or running the football.
Yeah.
Trenches.
Yeah.
I'm saying it all year long. Trenches matter. And that's what you've seen in the last 4 teams that were in the championship games, and that's what you're seeing in the Super Bowl.
How are you watching the game Sunday?
It doesn't even.
You big Super Bowl event guy?
Nah, I'm gonna sit down on the couch like normal and chill.
Maybe.
Is that why you ignored my event to our Super Bowl party?
Huh?
Is that why you ignored the invite to the Super Bowl party? No, I didn't.
I was about
to say I didn't get the invite. What are we talking about?
No, I'll be chilling, man. I'll be chilling. Yeah, enjoy it. I bought myself a TV this year, so I'm gonna sit down.
What's your
and
go-to
enjoy it.
food?
I don't make like a big event of it, to be honest with you. I really don't.
No smoked mac and cheese for this one?
Nope.
I hate the big. I only want to be around like hardcore people that know football. I have no time for anybody that wants to talk to me about the commercials. I would prefer to watch the game by myself over being around a big group of people that are going to complain to me about Taylor Swift being shown too much. I just want to watch.
I literally haven't thought about the game being this weekend. I legit I haven't got there.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You're just not interested.
I went
in
last year. I went to a few of the last few ones where I was down there, kind of in the environment. I just feel really detached from it this year. So I don't know.
It's funny. I kind of feel the same way. It may be the fallout of what happened with what happened with the Cowboys as one thing for me, because I mean we spend all season. We start at training camp. We start even before training camp, and you're getting into it and you're talking about possibilities. You're talking about growth. You're talking about setups, and then you have it all come crashing down over the matter of 2 quarters. Ultimately, is what it took to take all of that work and throw it down. So yeah, I've watched the games. I've gone back and really searched what happened in the NFC and AFC championship games. But as far as the excitement for an entertainment value of the Super Bowl this year, it's just not there for me. And maybe it's just a byproduct of that. And maybe I just needed a little bit of a break from that.
I'm interested to hear how the reviews are from people that go to Las Vegas, because the way it's set up, if you've ever been to Vegas, it seems like it's like the perfect spot to host this type of event. And I would think if it got into a regular rotation of just 4 or 5 cities, it would certainly be one of those in there. So I'm interested to hear the feedback, because I think up until that point, a lot of people talk big about New Orleans being a great spot for it. I would completely agree about that. And then obviously I see LA being in the mix all the time, but for any of us that have been to that stadium's not within walking distance. That's the thing that makes those events the best.
Yeah.
Like New Orleans, I could see Vegas being. Indy's like that too for the Combine. That's why I love that the Combine staying in Indy for at least another year. I love when it's like walkable to the stadium, to the hotels, convention center, all that stuff like that. So I bet you the only way that Vegas won't get good reviews is if it's just so overcrowded because it's the first year.
And the flooding that's happening out there too has played a bit of an impact.
And the weather isn't
like
great weather. It's I think in the 50s or whatever like that, but it's not 70s, 80s or whatever like that. But I do think if you were going to the game or you were in Vegas right now, I think you probably feel a little bit different about it.
You think Dallas gets another one?
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
Stadium?
Yeah.
AT&T, I should say.
Yeah. I think they'll get another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think for a reunion arena.
Exactly.
No, and they build a new stadium out this way.
You know something we don't?
No, but nothing would ever surprise me.
Yeah, that's fair.
5 years from now, we start breaking ground in Prosper.
Salina Stadium up there.
Just imagine what would you do with AT&T Stadium if you moved the Cowboys up this way?
The Arlington Renegades would move in.
Oh.
They would play over there.
Man, they keep upgrading. Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah, for real.
They are the champs.
Jerry Jones talked about that a little bit on Sunday, which I guess could kind of segue into our talking about AT&T Stadium getting 9 World Cup games in 2026. That's going to be a huge event. But he talked about he was asked about, do you think there's an opportunity here if you have a good run with these 9 games to have a better pitch for a Super Bowl next time around? And he said, yeah, we're always trying to get a Super Bowl here. So the renovations are already starting at AT&T Stadium. Whenever me and Kyle went on Sunday, you can kind of see it already beginning on the outer work of AT&T, and they're going to do a lot of work to the suite levels as well.
Had some chairs covered and like some draping down on the field and stuff. So
yeah. And Jerry Jones said, 10, 15 years after the stadium has been built, we're trying to continue to make it look like the newest thing out there. So I think that's kind of the intention behind getting the World Cup in Arlington as well. We'll kind of see how that plays out. But if it goes well, then that's just another a charity point, I guess you could say, onto AT&T Stadium being able to host a Super Bowl. And he compared having 9 World Cup games to having 9 Super Bowls. So it's going to be big events.
He's not far off.
He's really not. I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of things and specifically what countries would be able to come and play in those games, it's going to be a big deal. And they're going to get an opportunity to kind of get a preface of that with the Copa America games next summer. But yeah, it's going to be a big deal.
Well, and it may not be 9 Super Bowls, but it might be the 4 group stage matches. That might be 4 NFC Championship game calibers. And then you've got the final group stage match, which is going to decide who's going on to the knockout stage.
I think it'll be bigger.
That'll be huge.
That Super Bowl, honestly.
Well, the semifinal will be the biggest event that AT&T Stadium's ever held.
Big as the what?
People coming all over the world.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's the big difference. Like people forget, people in America forget how big soccer is internationally. And DFW is one of the best international airports. So
yeah.
Semifinal is going to be a huge deal. They get a semifinal and I believe 3 other elimination games. So regardless, they're going to get some big time games.
All of those will be bigger than the Super Bowl based off of
fair
revenue, based off of merchandising, based off of exposure, viewership, all of it. Yeah, it'll be big time.
I don't know why, but I'm so fascinated about the whole playing surface thing because obviously it's indoors, and they're just seeing like the renderings of what it will have to be like because the grass will have to be built up on top of a thing that will take out like the first 2 or 3 rows of AT&T Stadium, and I just find it interesting because of the fact of like, do we get to a point in the NFL where they require every stadium to have natural grass? I'm interested to see how one, because obviously for an NFL game you wouldn't have to build it up like that. You could have it on the playing surfaces. But I'm interested to see how the grass holds up.
Yeah.
And then 2, is this something that could be sustainable going forward for the NFL? Because obviously all the players prefer to play on grass. Could that ever change in AT&T Stadium? I can't see it happening. But I'm interested in that whole thing. Like, how are you going to have this natural grass here for 9 games? And then how does it hold up? Because, like, for Allegiant, I'm pretty sure that when they have college games and other games, I'm pretty sure they play on turf. So, like, yesterday when they did the media day thing there, I'm pretty sure they had the turf field in. So, like, the actual Super Bowl field is outside because it has to be growing, the natural grass. And then it, like, slides in kind of like Arizona Stadium does where it grows it outside like that. And so sometimes that runs into problems because once you move it inside, there can be condensation, things like that. And then all of a sudden, if it's slippery and guys are all over the place, if that's going to be the case, then we'll play on turf type thing, Yeah. But if it's going to be sustainable, it'd be fascinating to see if this whole thing works out for them because That's going to be such a big thing for people that don't really love soccer. Is going to be like, oh my God, this playing surface is terrible. They should never have had it at this stadium or that stadium or whatever like that. That's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Grass science.
Yeah. That's how we end up on Talking Grass. I mean, Cowboys.
I don't know that you could get a better expert in that field than somebody that's in this building right now, Mike McCarthy. Yeah. Mike McCarthy knows grass, man.
You're
Seriously.
Right.
If you start talking about grass with him, he can break it all down. He can tell you all different types, what kinds he prefers for cleats, all those things like that. That's why he prefers to practice on grass as much as possible. So yeah,
I tried to kind of push the what's the word I'm looking for? Push the anyway. I tried to ask Jerry Jones about how much work will go into the stadium and his walk off after the World Cup thing, and I was like, how much work is really going to go into being able to fit FIFA regulations from a widening standpoint and then putting natural grass down? He's like, oh, well, it's going to be a hefty penny, but we could pay the check. I was like, that's not what I was asking. How much work is going to go into it? He's like, it's going to be a lot of work. And I was like, all right, I'll ask you about a year.
Right, but to even be a finalist to host that last game, I would hope that they have a detailed plan that was put out in front of whatever committee had to look at it. This is how we can make it work. Because that's the thing, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not a super big soccer fan, but I'm pretty sure soccer's always played on grass. At least big games like that, they prefer to play on grass.
Yep.
And so when you see some of these venues up for it that are technically indoors, you're just kind of like, okay, well, that's got to be a stretch for them to be willing to be like, oh yeah, no, we'll host it here inside. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. We can't wait to see how it really turns out and really what the nuances of this World Cup are going to look like. But we do know.
You guys think you'll go to any games?
Oh, heck yeah, I'm going to the games. I've already told my wife. I was like, we're going to bankrupt to get there.
The children?
We'll make it happen. Yeah.
We're going to bankrupt
those 3 kids. To get all 5 of us there, it's done. Yeah, it's sorry, college funds. It's over with. Yeah. We will be back next Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Time 10 a.m. Central Time to be here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company. For Chris Beam, Isaiah Stanback, John Machota, Nick Harris, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. We'll see you next week on Talking Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!